church bulletin. Wedding coordinator needed. Wedding. The Sound of Music with Julie Andrews gliding down the aisle. Coordinator. I can coordinate. Needed. Oh, yes, yes, I have a pathological need to feel needed. Fellow Toastmasters. In a flash, I was in Holy Saints Rectory filling out a surprisingly short application. As I signed my name, I looked up at the secretary and the Monsignor and said, "Who was the last wedding coordinator?" The Monsignor snatched the application out of my hand, raced into his office, and slammed the door behind him. And even then, the church secretary looked around very cautiously before she whispered, "It was Elsie Simmons." Elsie Simmons? I felt like my brain had been hit by a sledgehammer. That white-haired woman that was shaking like a leaf and talking some foreign language under her breath and always had an expression on her face like she'd just seen a ghost. As if the secretary noticed the surprised expression on my face, she added, she was wedding coordinator for the last 2 years. She just turned 40. And then she added, her hair was coal black when she started. I didn't know what to think. I was contemplating on that as I studied the backwards and forwards, the rules and regulations for weddings. What the videographer shall not do, what the photographer shall not do, what the, no, don't tie glass faces on the ends of the pews. That was 5 years and 125 weddings ago. Not one of them even vaguely resembled The Sound of Music. As a matter of fact, they were all unmitigated disasters. I found out that no amount of rules and regulations, policies and procedures can possibly prevent what I call Ringbearers Revenge. Those pathetic little boys doom every wedding to disaster. Those small samples of masculinity dressed in scaled-down tuxedos are still wearing diapers. Let's be rational. Every parent in this country is far more interested in successful potty training than the slight possibility that one Saturday afternoon, during nap time, their son is going to be expected to carry very expensive rings on a slippery satin pillow down a long aisle in a strange building while hundreds of people are snapping his picture. It's unrealistic. It's unnatural. And then we're surprised when it backfires. Those ring bearers ruin every wedding. They know they did something wrong that has to do with weddings, but they're far too young to understand what it is. So they have a sense of shame and failure. And it shows up 20 to 30 years later in what I call Ringbearers Revenge, when these little boys grow up and become groomsmen. On the surface, they look natural and compliant and normal, but underneath they're churning with a deep sense of failure and shame, and they have a compulsion to try and rectify the situation. Take the Johnson wedding. The afternoon was hot. The groom fainted. The groomsmen took off their jackets and began fanning the groom. After they stripped him down to his skivvies, they should have left his t-shirt on. Some of his tattoos were really poor taste. Take the Muldoon wedding. The best man pulls his pockets inside out, showing he doesn't have the wedding ring. So he turns to his right, and the next groomsman rummages through his pockets and does the same thing. This charade continues all the way down to the last groomsman, who pulls out a box of Cracker Jacks and retrieves the rings. Very funny charade. I'm the one who is stuck up picking all those sticky Cracker Jacks off the floor. I hate sticky. Take the Medina wedding. I give clear instructions. Stay hydrated, arrive early, line up at 2 o'clock. Arrive early. These groomsmen were there at 11:30 for a 2 o'clock wedding. It's 2.5 hours early. Staying hydrated, they were cooling their heels, consuming Coors they'd hidden in a chest concealed in the sacristy. 2 o'clock, they're lined up outside the men's room. They should have planned their time a little better. But I think the Watson wedding has pushed me over the edge. 2 o'clock, everybody's ready. No groomsmen. I come outside the church just in time to see the groomsmen pushing the limousine up and parking it right in front. They were sweaty, they were grimy, they were greasy, and they were too breathless to tell me what had happened. Well, I got that wedding started just a little late. And then I went out to talk with the limousine driver. Well, actually, it was more like an interrogation. Well, really what I did was alternated between choking him and hitting his head on the roof of the limo as I screamed bad words at him. Finally, he was blubbering and sniveling like a typical ring bearer. He would have gotten the groomsmen there on time, but he ran out of gas at the foot of the hill. He wouldn't admit to the groomsmen that he ran out of gas, so he let them tinker under the hood for 25 minutes trying to get the limo going. But then why did he have them push it up to the top of the hill? Oh, as soon as the wedding was over, they were planning to work on the engine a little more. Things have gone too far. The day after that wedding, I looked in the mirror. I think I'm coming down with what Elsie Simmons has. Ringbearers Revenge.